But be as it may, this is akin to MMT, modern monetary theory. You're going to have the politicians acting as central bankers. That will be a disaster, in my opinion. Wednesday, June 11th, 2025, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, back on January 29th, I reported on the Bank of England, and I said it was huge news. The Bank of England had reported that their spot delivery, or the spot delivery for the LBMA, had been delayed to 4 to 8 weeks. And at the time, gold was at 2,700. And I said, this is going to be massively bullish. And I think I've been right about that. But what I want to talk about today is another kind of big news like this, in my opinion, that could not just drive gold and silver higher, but all assets higher. It could be the spark for the crack up boom. And that's to do with the new Fed chairman or chairwoman. And that's what we're going to look at today. I think it's explosive news. I haven't seen many people talk about it that much. It came out yesterday, and that's what we're going to look at. And we're also going to look at the last time there was a civil war in the United States. And some people might argue with me that it was a war between the states, but whatever you want to call it. We're going to see what the gold-silver ratio did back during the Civil War. And why are we going to do that? Well, there's a lot of talk here about the prospect of civil war with what's going on in LA. For example, InfoWars is reporting here, and I know InfoWars can be a bit over dramatic sometimes, but they say maximum emergency alert. The desperate Democratic Party knows it's game over and is publicly promoting a nationwide mass civil unrest set to explode Saturday, June 14th. The other thing I would say about this, and we'll go into this now, into the gold-silver ratio, and then we'll come back to the big news about the Fed, and you will want to hear this, is that my wife, she watches a lot of the commentators in the alternative media. She was watching this morning, I think it was Jimmy Dore, and they think this is all part of this digital ID. They want people to protest. Some people are not going to like this. Trump is just playing his part on the thesis or antithesis side. And then there's the thesis side. The Freemasons, of course, I think it was Albert Pike in the 19th century. They said when people are unhappy and angry, we bring in a savior. So there's that in there as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of us bringing in this digital agenda, in particular due to the fact that in this big, beautiful bill, there's something in there that could give a lot of power to Palantir, who's basically a data, like they take data from everyone to basically know what you're doing, and it will be really important if they bring in the digital currency, the digital wallet, and if they want to control you and put you in 15-minute cities. And Palantir, of course, is a CIA is cutout, I would say that's the word. And I know it's really funny because Peter Thiel calls himself a libertarian, but he attends all the Bilderberg meetings. And talking about Bilderberg meeting, it's actually happening this week, and I'm not sure where it is, but it's gone off the news because of what's happening in the US. But Yes. So back in 1864, and we have to thank our friend, the gnome from Zurich, who I've spoken about. I met him last November when I went to Zurich for a precious metals conference. He watches the channel, and when he knew that I was going to be there, he asked the organizers to put us, to make an introduction, and we got on really well, and I talked to him regularly. And the other day he said to me that in July of 1864, so that was smack in the middle, well, towards the end of the Civil War, the gold-silver ratio actually dropped below 10. It did settle just below 10, like 9.98 at the end of July. And yes, during the Civil War. And he also gave me some charts when we were in Zurich, which I still have here. The price of silver going back to like 1720, and there's a high in November of 1864 at $3.05, and it doesn't sound that much, but the price of silver, as per the Constitution, as per the Coinage Act of 1792, and so on, was set at $1.29 per troy ounce. So this was quite a big spike, and I can show you here the November 1864 high. Yeah, he says silver. It's in German, of course, but yeah. So, and it's interesting now that with all the talk of maybe a civil unrest, or that could evolve into a civil war, that we're seeing silver start to take off, and that ratio come back down, back below 100. I think we're around 90 right now, maybe a little higher. So where could the gold-silver ratio go again? Could it go back down to 10? It's possible. Anything's possible. More realistically, in the short to medium term, we need to, I think, break 80. That used to be a big resistance, but now it's going to be a support. And then if you go back to 2011, that was at 31 to 1 or thereabouts. And of course, historically, the average around the world has been around 15 to 1. Some people are arguing or saying that we could even go 1 to 1. We'll have to wait and see about that. So, back to the Fed. This, of course, I think is huge news. And it came out yesterday, as I said, and it's on Bloomberg. Bessent emerging as a contender to succeed Fed's Powell. So I'm going to say it right off the bat. It's not certain that he will be the next Fed chairman. But I think the White House and Wall Street, they're trying to push him. And we're going to go through the article, but I'm going to tell you what I think about this first. I think, as I said earlier, it's going to be massively bullish for everything. And why do I say that? Well, because I think Bessent would bring in probably more QE. He would bring in, if he didn't bring in QE, he would bring in yield curve control. And what is yield curve control? Well, it's kind of a QE via the back door. So how does it work? Well, he'll come out and say at the Fed that they won't let the 10-year yield go above 4.75 or the 30-year yield go up above 5. They're going to defend that. So what happens is, if the market tests those levels, if the bond vigilantes sell those bonds and the yields go above 4.75 and above 5, the Fed will step in and print and buy those bonds until the yields drop below their limit that they will bring. And yeah, that's very inflationary because it will create a lot of liquidity in the market. And if it doesn't work, the Fed will just announce QE. That will be the nuclear option. But the other thing about Bessent, and I've spoken about this, and I made a video about it. He did an interview in early November last year, before the election, while he was still a hedge fund manager. And I'll put a link to my video and also a link to the interview, which was on YouTube. And he said that at work, his colleagues call him a gold bug. And he didn't negate that when he was doing the interview. And he also sees a rearrangement of the world monetary order, like a Bretton Woods-like realignment. That's what he says. So all this put together is very bullish. And the other thing I would say about President Trump, he was a big fan of the Prime Minister of Japan, Abe. And why is that? Why does that have any relevance with what I'm talking about? Well, Abe instituted it back in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, Abenomics. And what was Abenomics? Well, Abenomics was all about pumping the BOJ's balance sheet, yield curve control, and deficit spending. And Trump even had Abe in his residence in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. They were very close. Yes, he was assassinated a few years ago, but and I think that's the lines along which President Trump thinks, and also Bessent. Of course, this is not certain, but let's just read here the article, and I'll tell you why they're trying to make it normal that Bessent should become the Fed chairman. And the other thing about it, he knows now, of course, what's going on at the Treasury. It's almost like Trump is going to take over the Fed. And many of you know that I'm not pro-Fed. I'm not pro-central bank at all. I'm a proponent of no central bank because central banks are a monopoly, and we can't have a monopoly in a free market capitalist society. So the best thing that I could see going forward was for Trump to really push Congress to abolish the Fed. Why does he have to push Congress? Well, because the Fed was created by an act of Congress. So I think that's the only way to abolish it. But be as it may, this is akin to MMT, modern monetary theory. You're going to have the politicians acting as central bankers. That will be a disaster, in my opinion. But let's go through the article. Says a growing chorus. I like the way they manipulate things, of advisors inside and outside the Trump administration are pushing another name to serve as the next chairman of the Federal Reserve, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. President Donald Trump said Friday he would name its successor very soon to replace Jerome Powell, whose term as Fed chairman. They write chair. I mean, the guy's not a chair. He's a chairman. I hate that. Ends in May 2026. The small list of candidates under consideration has included Kevin Warsh, a former Fed official, whom Trump interviewed for the Treasury Secretary role in November, according to people familiar with the matter. But Bessent, who's leading Trump's effort to kickstart the U.S. economy. Where have we heard that before? Well, we heard that back in the 1790s in France, revolutionary France. They were only supposed to do one issue of assignats to kickstart the economy, and look how that ended. Anyway, with sweeping changes to trade, taxes, regulations is also now one of the contenders for the job, said the people. I like the way they never give names, who requested anonymity to discuss private conversations. Formal interviews for the position have not begun, two people said. I have the best job in Washington, Bessent said in a response to a request for comment. The president will decide who's best for the economy and the American people. Of course, he's not going to say anything. Actually, I'm going to stop right here because we don't really need to read this, because this is one of those conditioning exercises. And Bloomberg, of course, is kind of at the top of the pyramid in terms of the being the mouthpiece for the bankers. So I think this is significant. Yeah, I said it could be the trigger for the crack-up boom. And crack-up boom is just another word for currency collapse and hyperinflation. And it's ironic and what's the other word? Paradoxical that in a currency collapse or crack-up boom, everything seems to be going up in price, which is a good thing, but it isn't, because the currency is actually going down faster than these paper assets are going up. And of course, you have to measure the currency versus real money, gold and silver. And that's what happened. It happened in 1790s France. It happened during the Mississippi bubble here, in France in 1720, and also the South Sea bubble. And it happened in the 1920s. There will be stocks that will be worth having, but in general, the currency is going to drop a lot quicker than those stocks. And bonds, they will be kept nominally valuable, but versus real money, they'll go down. And if you look at the price of gold in Japanese yen, ever since 2013, it's gone through the roof. And I think the United States is going down the same path as Japan, especially if Bessent becomes the chairman of the Federal Reserve. What about Judy Shelton? Well, we'll have to wait and see. For me, of course, the best Fed chairman or chairwoman is no Fed chairman and Fed chairwoman. It would be to get rid of this institution that is basically a parasite for Wall Street and for governments and big corporations, that sucks the wealth out of the general public. So there you go. Let's quickly look at the markets this morning. It's 7:30 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold at 3,333. That's an interesting number, all threes. It's up $10. The high's been 43 and the low's been 33.15. Silver is taking a breather a little bit yesterday and today, but it's still above 36. It's at 36.40, down 15 cents. The low has been 36.37. The high 65. We're actually right near the lows here. The Dow futures is down 87. The NASDAQ 100 future is down 54. S&P is down 15. Today, of course, we've got the CPI data. That will be important. That's coming out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. The pound is down 0.2% at 134.71. And talking about the pound, we had some very negative numbers for the UK economy, and it doesn't surprise me. Yesterday, It says UK unemployment here in the FT hits 4-year high as pay growth cools. So I'm not surprised, because I've been warning you for the last 4 or 5 years that we are on the way to collapse. Not just the UK, but every other Western country is just as bad as this in Austria, Germany, France. And unfortunately, we've got leaders that have no clue on how to bring the economy back. They're digging deeper and deeper. And what do I mean by that? Well, they're interfering even more in the economy. They're like rewarding the public sector, punishing the private sector. I mean, I just saw a headline here today in the FT that Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, wants to invest 39 billion pounds into building affordable homes. It's just another, she's desperate, and it's going to be even worse. So what's the solution? Well, it's no point in giving the solution, because they're not going to listen. The solution, I would say, is the collapse, and then people will wake up and realize that we can't all live at the expense of government. That's basically what's going on. What else? Oil is up quite a bit. Well, it's unchanged, but I hadn't looked at it for a couple of days, and we now have a 64 handle WTI. Last time I covered it was around 61, 62. High-grade copper is just below 5. It's at 493. And more importantly, the Treasury market, and today will be a big day with the CPI coming out. The 10-year is just around 4.5. It's at 449. It's up 1 basis point. And the 30-year bond yield is holding below 5 right now. It's at 495. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.